Hello humans, and welcome to another episode of Gen X Gamer. The Nemesis system by Monolith is gone. Who owns it now? Warner Brothers. What are they going to do with it? I don't know, guys. This should be a really sad time for those of you who enjoy video games as an art. There's very few times where you can say somebody developed something innovative, new. This system was so innovative, and this is the Nemesis system we're talking about, that it deserved a patent. Now, let's break it down just in layman's terms. We could go over Monolith's history, guys, and everything that they've worked on, whether it's Fear, any of the other games they did. But I really want to focus on this because not enough people are making, I think, the correct analogies when it comes to how big this loss has been and how underdeveloped this system has become. This is something that if Warner Brothers really had any intentions of making creative gameplay, they should have been working on it for the last 10 years, minimum, ever since it came out in 2014, when they used it for the Shadow of Mordor. And then again, 3 years later with Shadow of War. That's in the Middle-earth series, by the way. Now, what is the Nemesis system, and why am I so upset about this whole thing? Well, guys, I'm upset because this is an innovation that should have been used a lot more. But the corporate myopia that's happening now, where everybody wants to put out their next Fortnite, their next games as a service to become a multi-billion-dollar company, they're just focused on that and they forget about everything else. They forget about gameplay, innovation, storytelling. Everything else is just secondary to that one goal. And because of that, they put these studios to work on these projects that have no guarantees of ever being successful, because there's only so many people that are going to play, Call of Duties, Fortnites, Marvel Rivals, whatever you want. There's a limit to what the market is. And if you put all your resources into looking for this pot of gold that is very elusive, you're going to lose your lunch because you're not making any money. You're going full blast on these, discoveries, these expeditions to find the golden goose, and you end up with nothing. It's not like you're putting 30% of your budget into this. These guys are just saying, the whole studio, you need to work on this now. Forget about everything else. And that's what's happened here, in my point of view, right? I'm not the owner of the truth, and the point of this video is for us to have a discussion, and a meaningful one, or at least you listen to this while you're at work or driving, whatever you're doing. I want you to think about this independently. So many times we get these stories and all we get is the same narratives over and over again. People make the same video about the same subject just because it's a popular thing to do or whatever gets the clicks. But I think if you're really a fan of video games and you're a fan of the art, you could be sad for when you lose important pieces in the genre. And Monolith Studios, if you just look at the wiki, you're sad now because it says deceased. It's gone. It's no more from its early origins in 1994 to now. It's gone. It's 30 years of legacy that is just obliterated over chasing something meaningless that had very little chance of success. And the studio was so far gone they couldn't make the Nemesis system work on a new game, something that had perfected already in 2 games previously. So they completely lost their compass as far as game creation. And that's because of the influence of Warner Brothers, of course, not because of the studios themselves. Now, let's go over it real quick. The Nemesis system that was developed by Monolith Studios was so innovative that it deserved a patent. Now, let me tell you how it works. For those of you who haven't played these games, let me tell you, go back and play them. Go play Shadow of War, specifically, so you can get familiar with it. Now, how the system works, at its core, the Nemesis system is in player interaction with enemies' AI, right? In this case, primarily orcs. And it dynamically adjusts the game and the game world based on your encounters with the orcs. This means every player can have a unique gameplay experience with the enemies, because those enemies, based on how you interact with them, how you play, they adapt, evolve, and they develop relationships with the player and other characters over time. Now, here's what makes this Nemesis game system special, right? Number one, the enemies remember you. If you fight an orc and he survives, he remembers your encounter. If you defeated him, he might come back scared or angry, or maybe wants revenge. If he beats you, he might mock you the next time you meet, or he might be promoted in the ranks, because the system gave these orcs evolving personalities. Each orc has a unique name, appearance. They even have different accents, strengths, and weaknesses. With each change that you make, with the battles, an orc, let's say that he barely escapes a firefight, he might develop a fear of fire if you beat him that way. Or another who kills you could become more confident and powerful and come back and seek revenge, right? And maybe beat you the next time you fight him, and he might humiliate you. He might give you mercy, like, Some of the encounters are great, especially in the first game. I think that the writing was a lot better in the first game. And they also had a hierarchy, right? And as far as the enemy structure, the game features an orc army with a chain of command. If you kill a captain, you lower the rank. You might lower his rank if you just humiliate him, for example. Another one might take his place. Some orcs will betray their leaders on their own, based on if they lost a fight, whatever. And this creates like a breathing enemy on the other side that could be changing and evolving as you're playing. So how I played the game, and depending on who I defeated, is going to be completely different than the way you play the game. Now, can you imagine those type of game systems being applied to other games? But let's go on. Another thing that really made it unique was the betrayals and alliances, right? You can turn your enemies into allies with in-game mechanics. Some orcs might resist you, betray you, or it can even become your followers, depending on your interactions. And then interactions randomized, because every orc was procedurally generated, and the characters would change dynamically. No two players, like I said before, would have the same game experience. That's why it was so innovative. Before the Nemesis system, enemies in most games were either static with pre-written personalities or randomly generated without memory. They didn't remember you. The Nemesis system gave AI enemies agency. They made them feel like they were real characters with personal grudges, their own ambitions, and their own evolving stories. And it changed the game. Now, can you imagine this system in an open world? I mean, if Warner Brothers really had their wits about them, they would have been licensing this thing out. Can you imagine being in an open world where the NPCs would act like this? Imagine if you could re-release Skyrim with the Nemesis system, or if you would have done Avowed. Avowed just came out. How much better would Avowed be if the people that you interacted with had these systems on them? Or just choose your game, Starfield. Geez, I mean, it would improve every game's AI automatically. It could make a lot of games richer. But right now, because they have the patent, you have to wait until 2036 until somebody can make something similar. Because of course Warner Brothers is going to enforce their patent, and that's why you don't see it in other games. But like I said, if they're not going to use it, why not at least earn revenue by licensing the system out? And again, it is just sacrilege that the same studio that created it couldn't implement it into Wonder Woman, and just because they didn't have the same people, they didn't have the same structure, they didn't have the same whatever, they couldn't repeat it again, and they ended up spending too much money on the game, and then it just was gone. Right? From everything that you hear, the studio was bloated with a bunch of people that were there that weren't as talented, regardless of who they were, right? But we know exactly what kind of rainbow people we're talking about that didn't have the same qualifications as prior people, and the game was focusing on other things that wasn't this. And because the company was chasing the golden goose, They didn't give this system what it deserved, which was richer gameplay with new games. What's the future going to hold? Guys, I don't know, man. This is just a mess. There is no positive out of this, because this is exactly what's wrong with gaming today. Companies making these kind of decisions when you have something so artistically innovative, and you decide to scrap that in order to go chase another Fortnite clone, or whatever service game you're planning that you think is going to make the company billions and billions of dollars, with the odds of that being minimal. It's just what makes AAA gaming now just a whole different industry, and why so many of us look to retro games for entertainment. Because this is a part of AAA gaming, this is a part of modern gaming that just makes you sick to your stomach. I wish this was more positive video, guys. But based on this company's history, I don't see what else they're going to do. I hope they bring something back. Man, if you could do a remaster and update the AI or something, do something. But just to let the studio close and do nothing with all the properties and everything else, geez, you could have used the same system to remaster properties. The possibilities are endless. But look at the route they took, and look at the consequences, and look at what price Monolith had to pay. And at the end of the day, it's gamers that lose. We lost. We lost a good one. We lost a good studio. And it's all because of poor decision making in corporate. Businesses are there to make money, but you can make money creating good games. Alright, humans, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for watching this video. If you like this kind of content, make sure you like and subscribe. Talk about these odd things in the peripheries, right, of the video game industry. Please subscribe, hit that bell, and I will catch you on the next one. Take care.
New videos every Monday and Sunday. Thank you for joining me on another episode of the Gen X Gamer. Remember to like and subscribe. Click that notification bell, and remember, never ever be afraid to be happy. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.